Here we are on another Sunday. 2 Sundays in a row, Paul.
No, we're
This
rolling.
might be our day.
We're rolling.
You know? Not because usually Sundays are for football, but the Patriots are horrible.
Yeah.
And so Sundays are not really for football right now anymore. And as we record this on Sunday morning, the Patriots are about to play the Giants. And by the time you watch this on YouTube or Spotify, Mac Jones has probably thrown an interception. One of his receivers has probably dropped a touchdown pass. And Bill Belichick has really answered nothing in the post-game press conference. But I did take the Patriots -4 against the Giants team. Belichick should shut down a rookie quarterback in the kid DeVito. That's what Belichick does. But we are not here to talk football. That's why we're recording this before the games, Sunday in Week 12.
No temptation. All right, I do have one quick question about
Quick question, go.
Do we see Zappy today?
Do we see Zappy?
Yeah.
Look, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I think that's the ultimate takeaway of the football talk on this show right now. Football does not matter. There is one thing that matters, Paul, and one thing only. I have not been this excited to record any type of content in a long time. Because what happened last night on Saturday night in Chicago, as I am sitting there about to shut the TV off on the Peacock Network, at the end of Survivor Series, CM Punk returned to the WWE, and it was a moment that we had talked about. We scheduled this show. We said last week, we're like, let's do something on Sunday, a day after Survivor Series, because we kind of think CM Punk is going to return. Something big's going to happen. Let's do a reaction show. We booked this show. Me and you. Nobody else could call us and try to schedule something with us. No. We're recording a Survivor Series recap because we think CM Punk is going to come back. Why did we think that? Well, a couple reasons. One, it was in Chicago. 2, the WWE, they've been dropping these weird, little Easter eggs for weeks since CM Punk, got fired from AEW officially for what seems like a second time. Seemed like a second time he got fired, right? But then there was still this little angle that AEW has with the devil, the guy in the mask, where it's like, oh, maybe it is a big work. Maybe it's the greatest work in the history of wrestling, and CM Punk is still in AEW. But you had all these WWE Easter eggs on Raw and SmackDown and social media where they're dropping these hints. Like everybody was saying a CM Punk line from the past or doing something that was somewhat CM Punk related from his previous time in WWE. So we both got the sense that he was going to return, and it was in Chicago, and he was a free agent. It just made too much sense, right? But even knowing that, even scheduling this show, putting this show on our schedule, knowing that he was going to come back, as the show ended on Saturday night on the Peacock Network, as I was about to just, in full disappointment that he didn't show up, shut the TV off. Thank God I didn't, because suddenly, at the end of the War Games match, the CM Punk static and then the music, Cult of Personality hits, and he comes out, and the place goes nuts, and I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I was like, the shock that came over me, even though I knew, was incredible. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I experienced a feeling of shock like that for something that I kind of knew or thought was going to happen.
That's the magic of wrestling right there, though.
That's professional wrestling, and I feel so bad today. There's a couple people I feel bad for. I feel bad. One, I feel bad for Tony Khan because it kind of burst an AEW bubble. I feel bad for someone like Edge, who this doesn't have any buzz, and if he did it all going to AEW. I feel bad for Cody Rhodes, who's probably like, fuck, I want to finish the story, guys, and now we got someone else in the mix. And I feel bad for anybody today who is not a pro wrestling fan. That's who I feel bad for, because you weren't able to experience that emotional swing last night at about 11:15,
Yep.
Around there, where I was about to shut the TV off. There was so many people that probably shut their TVs off last night,
and then saw it on Twitter and was like, what?
What's going on? And I was texting with people throughout, but I was I was disappointed. because I thought they were kind of setting us up for CM Punk to be the 5th member of the team, and they were kind of lying about Randy Orton, using him. Randy Orton returns, and that was, but there was some disappointment there because everybody was chanting CM Punk. Everybody wanted CM Punk. But this just goes to show you the WWE is so good at creating these moments. Like, they played this whole thing perfectly. They led you on to think that CM Punk was coming back, and then instead they gave you Randy Orton, and even when they gave you Randy Orton, they teased that maybe it wouldn't be Randy Orton, it would be CM Punk. They let you chant your CM Punk chants. They let you get your hopes up that maybe it was going to be Punk, and then it really was Randy Orton, and then the show ended. The show ended. It's over. They had the credits come up on the screen. And Corey Graves, Michael Cole, they stopped talking, and that was it. They give you, like, the camera angle, like the aerial shot of the arena, like, that's it, see you, we'll see you tonight on Monday Night on Raw. And then the CM Punk music hit, Paul, and there was a split second. I was in, like, nah. I was just like, because here's what I initially thought is this was, like, I was trying to process this. Because I'm just laying there, I was disappointed, I sat up, I was about to change it. And you see his logo pop up and the static and the cult of personality. And I'm like, did the Peacock Network cut to an old WWE event? That's what I thought was happening. I'm like, because, they have all the old events on there.
Yeah.
Like, did they cut to a recap of, like, an old Survivor Series? Like, is that what they do on Peacock Network? When this show's over, they go to another, like, old event that they show? So I was confused. I'm like, is this did I blink and miss, like, a shot of the camera changing to another show? I'm like, what is happening right now? And then he comes out, and even as he's walking out from a distance, there was a moment where I'm like, this is going to be Austin Theory. Because Austin Theory, the night before on SmackDown, came out to KO's music with a KO shirt, and he's playing this role of a prankster, and wouldn't that have been the ultimate prank? And that would have got him so much heat. That would have put Austin Theory over, though. Like, that's almost what Austin Theory would have needed. And so I was going through the whole gamut of emotions as I'm sitting there going, no way. And then it was CM Punk. And I kept watching the videos after. How could you sleep last night? I mean, I almost forgot to give my picks from week 12. I busted those out for you this morning. I mean, what an incredible turn of events last night for something that we expected to happen that left me in utter shock. And I'm still kind of in shock now, processing it, thinking about it the following morning, to the point where I think you look at the crowd in Chicago, the way they reacted, it was loud. It could have been louder, but the reason it wasn't as loud is because people were like, what? This show's up. Is this real? Like, I think the way WWE did it was so perfect.
It must have been wild there, too, just to feel the emotion, like, drain out of the place. Everyone realized he doesn't come, and then just right back. It must have felt amazing there.
Oh, man. The way the WWE plays with your emotions, and CM Punk is back. And at the end of the day, Paul, it was a move that was best for business.
It really was. And the only way you could do it, like you said, like we had so much. We already had him there. In everyone's head, he was there. The Tony Khan thing, them alluding that he still might be coming back. I don't think anybody ever really believed that, but everyone 100% believed that CM Punk was there that night. So to still give that excitement, to be able to pull that off that's a pretty special moment.
Yeah. And now you get the videos of everybody upset. You get the reports. Drew McIntyre was pissed. You got videos of Seth Rollins giving him the finger. I just think these guys are like, they're doing their job. I like to tell you everything's a work, right? And for the most part, it is. I have like the story now is that nobody knew, and I just have a tough time believing that.
Yeah,
because of all the Easter eggs that were being thrown out. They had shirts ready to go almost right afterwards.
Yeah, you don't do any of that stuff quietly, so you can't.
And if you go back and listen to when CM Punk came out, Cult of Personality, it was the remastered version, and
okay,
they released the remastered version like 2 days ago on Spotify. And that was going on. And if you listen, there is a little difference in the song, and that's the new one is the one he came out to. And so this had been, whether it was in the works for a week, a couple days, I think what you're going to see now is everybody in WWE play this role of they don't want CM Punk. Like they're going to play into everything that happened in AEW, which apparently was real. And it's what I got wrong. I got that wrong. I thought that was a work. And I thought it was a work because I just didn't think that AEW would drop the ball like that. And they dropped the ball.
Yeah.
The way that they catered to the talent that didn't want CM Punk around, I just thought was foolish. I mean, WWE just showed you they did what's best for business. Triple H gets in a press conference afterwards, and the press conferences are great. And he answered questions on it, and the takeaway from that press conference from Triple H, what he said was, he said, look, if you haven't changed as a person in 10 years, then you messed up. And it's been about 10 years, right? Almost 10 years since CM Punk is in WWE. And there's no question. I mean, I know from experience personally. I'm sure you do too. I mean, you change. I mean, a 10-year span, from your 30s to your 40s, like there's a lot that changes in your head and your heart. And if you're not taking those steps, right, to make those changes, whether they're intentional or maybe unintentional, then you have messed up. And that's what Triple H was alluding to. And Triple H said even for himself.
Yeah, exactly. I like that part too, because he said, like, he basically made it seem like we're both a problem. At one point, we were both a problem. So which when you're welcoming a guy back into a company, that's the way to do it. Like, don't put all of it on him before. Say, hey, we all change. Everything gets like. It's time heals all type of thing.
And it's an industry that it breeds egos, right? Like if you're in that industry and you're a superstar and everybody loves you, and you go from because it's a weird industry. Like you go from wrestling to gyms, like VFW halls and local CYO basketball gyms in front of like 50 people. To sold out arenas, almost like that. And you go from maybe selling a couple t-shirts to a couple kids on a Friday night to like making huge money in merchandise, huge money at the gate and just being loved or hated. But you're hated so much that it feels like you're important, you're special. So there's so many egos that are created in that industry that I think Triple H, he's got an ego. CM Punk has an ego. And those egos, they butt heads. And that's what happened. But here we are 10 years later, and they're both willing to say, you know what? We both changed. This is what's best for business. We'd all be completely foolish if we didn't do this tonight. Because I don't think it was a question of whether or not CM Punk was going to come back to the WWE. I think once he was gone in AEW and CM Punk had that wrestling itch back, just getting involved in it full time again, I think it was only a matter of time. I think the only question was, do you wait till the Royal Rumble or do you do it in Chicago at Survivor Series? And I think one other thing that helped make this happen was, and you can probably correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe CM Punk was already collecting a check from TKO anyways, right? Didn't he do color commentary? He does color commentary for an MMA
I think he
company that's in the UFC.
Under their umbrella.
Under their umbrella, right? It's like their minor league affiliate almost, right? Isn't it? Doesn't he do that?
I think he did. I have to look into that to see if he still does.
Oh, he definitely did it as of a couple months ago because he was the third man in on that crew, and they said something to him like, "Oh, you got something to do in a couple months. You might not be here in a couple months." And they were alluding to him going to the WWE. And so I think he was already kind of in that. He did fight in the UFC as much of a failure as we could say that was.
That was rough.
But I there's always part of me that like gives him credit for being like
100%. And they fed him to a dog. Mickey Gall is the one who really beat the pants off him, and like that kid was hungry and ready. He's kind of burned out since then, but they gave him someone to rip him apart. So they didn't do any favors for him. It was one of those things like when a wrestler shows up. he was never going to succeed. They weren't going to let him succeed.
They were not
They
going to
beat
let
the
him
crap
win that.
out of him every time.
Yeah, and what, he had 2 fights, I think?
2, yeah. The other guy, I don't even. The other guy wasn't no one, but
Yeah.
the second fight, legitimate fighter.
And you were actually part of a show that went somewhat viral, right? The Will
What's that?
Noonan show when he was shitting on CM
Oh,
Punk.
yeah,
were you
yeah,
part
yeah.
of that show, or was that? Did he record that like in his car?
I don't.
And we love Will, but he went viral for a
I
rant
wasn't a part
against
of that,
CM
but
Punk.
Yeah. He recorded that. That
Will
wasn't-
Noonan, friend of ours, friend of the
I
show.
completely forgot about that. Yeah, he did. He attacked
He
CM
crushed
Punk.
CM Punk on his podcast, and I thought it was with you in this studio. It wasn't. He did it
No.
on his own. And he was like, if stick to what you his rant was about sticking to what you're good at. Why would you leave and go to UFC? You're not a fighter. You're a wrestler. And while
in hindsight, probably right.
and while I somewhat agree with that sentiment, I think something's got to be said for somebody who wants to do something like that and has the balls to do it. Because a lot of people will sit there and go, "Oh, I want to go to the UFC." How many people actually do it? He did it. I got to give him some credit for that. No matter what the result was, CM Punk's got to get credit. And I'm not just saying that as a fanboy, because I am a CM Punk fanboy, obviously. But I think you got to give him credit for doing
You have to give a guy credit for that, because he went in. He wasn't wrestling anymore. He's not playing. It's not fake anymore. The guy put himself out there for something he wanted to do too. So like, you kind of have to always go. If that's a guy's dream, that's a guy's dream.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, now we're back in the WWE. He went to AEW after that. Now he's back in the WWE, and it was a shocking return last night. And it was shocking, even though we knew it was going to happen, just because of the way the WWE did it, where they led you on like he was going to come back, and then they disappointed you by not having him on the show. And then as the show's about to end, the music comes on, the logo flashes on the screen with the aerial shot of the arena in Chicago. Place went bananas, but it wasn't as loud as it could have been because, again, I think people were like in shock. Well, like, is this real right now? I know from the couch as I was about to shut it off, and I was so close to shutting it off, Paul. Like, it was that moment. Like, I had the remote in my hand, complete disappointment. And then the music hit, and I was like, no way. Is this real? Like, did they change to an old Survivor Series? What is... Oh, it's not even CM Punk. It's Austin Theory playing a joke. Oh, no, it is CM Punk. So the emotions... And then I'm just watching all the reactionary videos, and it's a wild time. I mean... Do you have any reaction you'd like to share on it? Because you did actually send me a text with something that I was like...
Well, I'm a Randy Orton.
I was like, come on, Paul.
Well, okay.
What you texted... Let's just... For the people...
Exactly what... I don't even remember what I wrote.
You texted me... You thought this was... You'll always look at this as Randy's return.
Well...
Or something like that. I'm paraphrasing.
No, that's like, yeah, I kind of wanted the night for Randy in a weird way after because I kind of already wrote off CM Punk. I didn't think he was happening either. I'm not even sure when I sent that text because I might have sent it before he come out.
Oh, you did?
I'm not like,
yeah, you know what?
CM
Yeah, I had
Punk.
my phone on Do Not Disturb, so
I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I just thought Randy looked great. Came back that's 16 months. Really bad back injury that he. Double fusion, I think they said. It's pretty wild if that's really what happened also. But yeah, I kind of felt like it was a little bit of Randy's night. And I almost feel like what you said about Cody Rhodes. I feel bad for Cody Rhodes too. Like, I'm like, everything, the world's back to it's CM Punk's world. The best in the world is back, and everything's gonna change. Like, and that's a good thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but. You remembering Randy really today? Is anyone really talking about that?
No, I think Randy's okay with it, but it is. Look, let's not. It's complete. It's a completely different comeback. This is why they could do this. Like, the Randy Orton return was from an injury. I mean, I don't even think he missed a full year, did he?
I think they said 16 months.
Oh, was it 16 months?
Yeah.
All right, it was. It seems like about around a year. I mean,
also don't love. I mean, I do love it in hindsight, but I don't like Randy getting used as a prop. Because that's what he kind of was. His return was, in a way, used as a prop to keep teasing you, the CM Punk thing, to keep teasing you out. I don't know.
I get what you're saying.
Like, an older guy comes back and sells a younger guy. I see that all the time. John Cena just did a tour of that. But does an older guy sell another old guy when he comes back who is already going to get a massive pop? I don't know. Like, it's just, there's something, I like it, but there's something like this I'm a little dissatisfied with it.
You think there's something wrong about the way they did that to Randy Orton?
A little bit, yeah. Like maybe I put him higher than they do. Maybe that's what it is.
But I also think that Randy Orton probably agreed to this.
I think so too. I think he's a guy. I think he's a worker. So
but I just think he's been through it all. He's done it all. I mean, the only thing Randy Orton can do now is what? Become the most winningest world champion. I don't know. And actually, before last night, I didn't know if they were going to do it, but he came out last night looking like, he's been drinking the deer antler milkshakes.
Oh, yeah, he looked great.
The deer antler spray milkshakes, right? And he's been chugging those things. He's huge. He's bigger than Drew McIntyre. And he was never really a big guy like that. He was big, but he was never like yoked.
No, yeah.
He was always muscular, but there was always like a thinner frame to him. He's like bigger than Drew McIntyre now. Like you can tell with the traps, like I'm not trying to accuse PEDs. That's just a joke. But
I think
you got to look at him and go, that's a...
But don't you want a guy who just had an older guy, bad back surgery?
Oh, go! I'm not. Even if he did use PEDs,
get the
like
stem
do
cells, get the peptides.
I'm pro
do it all,
PEDs, especially WWE. Like, you want to look like a monster? That's the place to look like a monster. Yeah. And so I look at him now. I'm like, wow, Randy Orton looks like an absolute animal. Like they might give him another world championship.
Well, I was wondering if they do a program with Cody.
I'm sure.
Like that, because I'd actually like to see that. I don't know if Cody would want that, really. That seems like a step back for Cody, but I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I mean, and just to kind of put a bow on this Randy Orton and CM Punk comparison on the returns, I get what you're saying. You feel like maybe Randy Orton was wronged a little bit because his return ended up being used as a prop to create that disappointment for a CM Punk return, which created the ultimate shock factor for something that everybody thought was going to happen. And
let me say, like, probably worth it. Like, it's probably worth it. It was great. Like, it really was.
It was worth it. I mean, the social media hits that they're going to get alone. Again, this was it made too much sense. Like, they couldn't pass up on this opportunity because it was in Chicago. They just couldn't. They couldn't wait until Royal Rumble because I don't even think it doesn't get the same. Like, there was something about the way they disappointed you on that night and the way they shocked you at the very end of the show when you didn't expect it to happen. Like, the whole thing was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Whoever was creating this storyline and manipulating this for the last couple weeks, and it was the last couple weeks. It wasn't just... Yesterday, he didn't sign just yesterday. I'm sure of that. I think needs to be commended for their genius mindset.
Great storytelling.
With the booking. Great storytelling. And now you have CM Punk. He is back. And we already saw it. They're going to have the storyline where they're going to use all the, cancer in the clubhouse, cancer in the locker room.
All Tony Khan's work.
Nobody wants CM Punk to be there, and that's going to be the theme. But I was texting with friends last night about now what happens, and the theme that I had in these texts was, now that CM Punk is back, now that also CM Punk looks as healthy as he's ever looked, by the way. We talked about
Randy
Orton looking healthy. CM Punk, who's kind of been a guy, was like, he's had like the goth look to him, the grungy look. Always kind of looked like he was, how do I say this nicely? He always looked like he wasn't in great shape.
Yeah. Like he was.
Not that he wasn't jacked. Like there was, when he had the pipe bomb against Cena, he was jacked then. But then towards the end of that run, you could tell he was injured. He wasn't able to work out. He lost some muscle mass. Like
it just didn't. Calling him skinny fat.
Yeah, it just didn't look good, right? Yeah. Triple H called him that, I think, in the ring. Yeah. Like it just didn't look good. And then he took so much time off. He came to AEW. He's getting older. But last night he came out, and you're like, he looks as healthy as he's ever been. He looks rejuvenated, and you could tell as he hit that ground and he came up, it's clobbering time.
Yeah.
You could tell he looked around, and I'm sure there was part of him thinking, why the hell did I ever leave this? Like we always say in pro wrestling, you always return to the WWE.
It's the show. Like, it's the show.
Like, if there's a quote that you ever remember me for saying, it's this. When it comes to pro wrestling, you always come home. You always return to the WWE. Always. And because of the way CM Punk had left and all the things that was said in the 8 to 10 years afterwards and the way the AEW stuff happened, the fact that he's returning to WWE, you have that iconic picture of him and Triple H now where he's pointing at Triple H. It's just fucking incredible. He is now back in the mix full time. And the theme that I had with the text that I was sending to friends last night talking about this, I said, you have to now continue to do what's best for business with CM Punk. And what's best for business with CM Punk, in my opinion, you have to have him. You need to have CM Punk versus Roman Reigns main event WrestleMania. You have to. I don't care what I'm not even going to listen to other people's arguments on it because I know I'm right on this.
You're 100%.
You have to do that. Can you imagine bringing this guy back with this type of story? Having a guy like Roman Reigns that's the unbeatable force with Paul Heyman, by the way. CM Punk used to be a Paul Heyman guy.
Versus the best in the world.
But even forget about Heyman for a minute. Just the aura and mystique surrounding Roman Reigns and just the dominant run that he's had. Then to bring a guy like CM Punk that everybody hates into the company again, who's so good on the mic, to bring him back and not have him go up against Roman Reigns while Roman Reigns is the champ on the grandest stage of them all would be an absolute failure. And in fact, it's something that AEW would do. Okay. WWE, what they proved last night on Saturday Night Survivor Series, they are not AEW. And they are not even close. WWE does what's best for business. If AEW had done what's best for business, they would have said to some of the younger talent that was being a little too bitchy and complaining about CM Punk, they don't like him, and they'd say, you know what? CM Punk is here is what's best for business. He's moving the needle. He's selling t-shirts. He's putting butts in the seats. People are watching. Shut the fuck up. That's what they would say, but they're not WWE. And so what's best for business right now for WWE is to have CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. I don't know how you go any other way. I know they're trying to create the Seth Rollins thing. Yeah. If you have CM Punk go after that other title, you are not doing your job.
Yeah.
You're ruining the entire thing. That title, unfortunately, that's why we said we feel bad for Cody Rhodes. It looks like, and they're even kind of setting up the Rollins-Cody Rhodes feud a little bit.
Yeah, they're saying they were going one night only last night where they could be on the same side, but yeah.
Yeah, it's looking like that title's going to be the one Cody Rhodes wins.
It does.
And that's not the title. I'm sorry. It's not. The title is the one Roman Reigns has.
And it's wild, too, because part of CM Punk's the greatest in the world, but part of it also is everything that's coming from AEW, which Cody helped to create to begin with. So, like, Cody almost like bit his own. Like, it's so wild.
I mean, I think you probably have to. I mean, you can do a lot of things with CM Punk. My point is, if Roman Reigns is gonna drop the title and go do movies now that the strike is over, right? If he's going to drop it at WrestleMania, which is kind of the expectation, initially it was like, hey, Cody's going to finish the story. But now, everything changes.
Yeah.
Everything changes. Because what's best for business is you cannot drop the ball and have CM Punk come in here. And unless he wins the world title at the Royal Rumble against Seth Rollins and somehow finds his way into, but then I don't know how you do the winner of the Royal Rumble gets a title shot. I don't know how you would do that. And
yeah. Well, unless you want to get rid of one of those dumb belts and just
that's what I mean. You
belts.
Can, yeah. I mean, you can unify the titles at WrestleMania is what I was thinking. I just think you have to have CM Punk against Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
You can't, put it this way, you can't not have CM Punk against Roman Reigns.
There's nothing else. If Triple H could get out there and do one more match, maybe you could do that, but you can't. There's nothing else. There's no other option.
For CM Punk,
for CM Punk. Like I could see if Triple H was ever healthy, which he's not. He'll never be able to do it again, supposedly. But I can see that. But there's nothing else. You only bring him back to give it and to put the title on him. Like this is, and I also think you have to strike right now. Do we really believe that this is going to work long term? Because I don't really believe it's going to work long term.
I don't know how long he'll be around. I mean, he might only be around for a year.
Exactly. So like, you strike. You
got to do it right now.
Right now, yeah. In WrestleMania is probably when he's going to basically start wearing out his welcome. If history is.
Yeah, I think they have the Rollins. I mean, Rollins is a smart dude. I think Rollins knew what was going on. So he did an interview, at WrestleMania last year. And it was like on YouTube, social media. And he was like, Phil, you're a cancer. We don't want you working here. Stay far away. Because he was asked about the potential of CM Punk returning to WWE one day. And so I think Seth Rollins is a smart dude. Like he created the
just in case
off-screen drama.
Yeah.
And then you saw him last night in videos. He was flipping the bird, and I had people texting me going, "Oh, he's pissed." I'm like, "Oh, no, he knows what he's doing." Seth Rollins is a smart worker because if Seth Rollins wants that main event with CM Punk, that's the money-making main event, and he's gonna by reacting like that when the cameras are off, when the show's done. He's going to get the WWE to at least consider going that route.
Exactly, because now they got there's a little bit of snippet of a video for their perfect vignettes that they'll make. So yeah,
there's a reason now that we can see that feud beginning. I think Seth Rollins is the one trying to stop this. But I just think the obvious play is maybe not Royal Rumble. I mean, maybe CM Punk wins the Rumble and he chooses Reigns. That's probably the likely scenario, I would think. Is that Punk wins the Rumble. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe because what are you going to do unless Cody wins? Cody going to win the Rumble again and then go to Reigns? Are you just going to repeat that?
Yeah.
I just think
I think you missed it.
Now that you have Punk here, and I don't know that you know how long this is gonna be the top story for. You have to, like you said, strike now while the iron is hot.
Yeah.
And I think they will. They have to. You can't have CM Punk return, have Roman Reigns in the dominant position that he is, almost like struggling to find someone for Roman Reigns at this point, and then like just run the company as if they're not even in the same company.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
No,
those two have to butt heads. Yeah. And I don't know when they do it.
There's only one time. WrestleMania. That's it. Yeah.
Right?
That's it.
That's the moneymaker. We have to think. And then now, like, TKO's involved. Not to say that they didn't go for the money-making matches when it was just Vince, but I do think there's a new business element to this whole thing that probably even has Triple H playing nice because of that right now, too, a little bit.
Yeah.
Like we said, with TKO involved and I'm sure they want him. I'm sure they're going to see those social media hits for all this stuff. And that's why if all these other guys who I said when they look upset that they're probably working a little bit, there probably is deep down inside some...
Oh, yeah. Well, there goes my opportunity. That's what I'd be thinking. There's a lot of... Because it knocked everyone down, not just the guys we've mentioned. Now guys under them get knocked down a peg, too.
Yeah.
Everybody sits down one rung.
There's not many opportunities. And
that's good. That's good for us because that makes it a better show. When you cram that much talent in, it's always going to be a better show.
Yeah, that's just showbiz. I mean, I can speak to that, having been in the radio industry, just seeing guys come back. Like when Glenn Ordway came back to WWE, he took over a spot that I was supposed to take for the second time. Like that spot with Lou Merlone, Christian Fourier, like that was supposed to be the second time I had that spot. That was mine. And then Glenn Ordway came out of retirement. And it was like, the WWE in me was like, fuck this. That's my title shot. You're just going to bring this guy in to take it? But that's like a WWE thing. Exactly, It doesn't matter. Like, you can be the young, up-and-coming talent all you want. But these guys, it's like, and not to say I wouldn't have made the money. I know I would have. I know my confidence in myself. But the brand, the safe, not just the safe play, but the play that they know guaranteed is going to make the money is the guy that's already made the money. that has more eyes on him. And so that's just the move they're going to make. And so in the WWE terms, it's like The Rock coming back, headlining WrestleMania, 2 years in a row?
Yeah.
Being kind of a part-timer. I know the second time, I think they made him kind of a full-timer, right? He won the title. And, he even fought CM Punk. But that's kind of like the CM Punk thing. It's so perfect because the pipe bomb was like, the fact that Dwayne gets to headline WrestleMania and I don't,
Dewey,
pisses me off. Makes me sick to my stomach. And now CM Punk's the guy that's coming back. Yeah. That's going to steal that spot in maybe a part-time role, and he's going to headline WrestleMania. Now it's like, well, what if The Rock, what if The Rock is still involved in a Roman Reigns? I'd rather see CM Punk versus Roman Reigns.
I would too. But that's the only other way that it makes sense. That if you have Rock do something with Reigns, that's the only other way that makes any sense.
It's the only way that you don't have CM Punk in the main event is if The Rock comes back.
And you're gonna,
because that's business.
It's also a letdown a little bit too. That's a letdown because I'm not sure I'm not sure The Rock, from the wrestling world's perspective, I'm not so sure The Rock has more cachet than CM Punk. For the rest of the world, Hollywood, everything else, I'm going to make a different argument. But in the wrestling world, I think CM Punk still.
I think in the entire world. I mean, did you see The Rock on Joe Rogan?
It was pretty bad.
It was unwatchable.
I think he made up some stories there.
Dude,
too.
it was. I couldn't watch, and I like Rogan. I watch and listen to a lot of his stuff on Spotify, like start to finish. Like I'll put it on my TV.
Yeah.
I think Rogan's great. But I thought that interview with The Rock was fucking horrible. And I can't tell if it was Rogan being uncomfortable with an awkward Rock, or if it was just
if you remember
Rogan trying to one up a complete superstar, or a little of both. It was the first 40 minutes.
I think Rogan was playing nice because I think they had a little bit of a problem before. The Rock was supposed to do his podcast quite a while ago, but I don't even remember what happened. But there was something people were angry at Rogan about. I'm not sure which one it was, and The Rock kind of pushed himself away.
Oh, did he accuse him of taking steroids or something?
I think he said that. Oh, he's 100% said that before. But I think it was during one of Rogan's canceling that The Rock kind of pushed away from the table.
Yeah, there was something else I feel like maybe. But either way, the first 40 minutes of that show was I had to shut it off. I couldn't go back. Yeah. And The Rock, when they were talking about some of the biggest issues in the world, he was just speaking in such generalities, playing it safe. It's dude.
Yeah.
It just was a bad look for The Rock. And they should have had, because every time Rogan has a professional wrestler in studio, he brings along Tony Hinchcliffe.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet that The Rock was I don't want Tony Hinchcliffe in here with me. I just feel like The Rock seems like that type of guy who's going to big time everybody and say, I don't want him there. I mean, Hulk Hogan didn't say that. The Undertaker didn't say that. Ric Flair didn't say that. But The Rock is going to say that? I don't think Rogan said to Hinchcliffe, you can't be here for the show.
Yeah.
Right? He brings Hinchcliffe on with every former wrestler. And I don't even know how much they got into WWE because I couldn't get past the first 40 minutes. I was like, this is horrible. And so I thought that was a bad look. It wasn't a bad look for Rogan. Rogan's show's going to continue to be be
And Rogan, to be fair, has those shows every once in a while. Sometimes
well, you have to. I mean, you do 3 hours with the guy.
Some people just come on and they just don't mesh for whatever reason.
Yeah.
The Rock doesn't really want to play. He's too serious.
Yeah,
Rogan does want to play a little bit.
The Rock seemed like he was difficult. And I know maybe it sounded like I was giving it to Rogan. I'm not. It's more on The Rock. He sounded like a very difficult interview. It's what are you doing here?
Yeah, what are you running for Congress? I'm not really sure what you want out of this.
It almost was trying to save face just by showing up. And he was being a little too nice. It's tough for me to describe.
It was weird. It was a
very strange, and I only watched the first 40 minutes, but I couldn't get past that. But that's the guy now that we're going to slide into the WrestleMania main event. I think the CM Punk stuff, the social media numbers here are going to be so big that I think they might get away from The Rock at WrestleMania. They might get away from those plans against Roman Reigns. Because at this point, do you need to see that? I don't.
No. Last year, maybe.
Yeah, last year, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't need to see that anymore. Because right now, all the focus is on CM Punk.
Yeah.
It's an incredible comeback. It's an incredible story. And you have Roman Reigns. He wasn't even at Survivor Series, which is crazy. He's the top champ. Survivor Series is one of your top shows, or at least it used to be.
Yeah, one of the big three, right?
The big four. You had a Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Those are the four major WWE pay-per-views, right? That's the Mount Rushmore of WWE pay-per-views. Now, they've mixed in some big ones that they are building up to maybe be bigger, like all the Saudi Arabia shows have been, they've portrayed as being bigger and more important. And you get a couple sprinkled in here and there overseas now that they're building up. But the four major pay-per-views are the ones I just mentioned. Survivor Series is one of them. But last night, I'm not going to lie, like watching it, it didn't feel like... And it's because they had no the two guys that main evented the previous pay-per-view, LA Knight and Roman Reigns, weren't on the show. I mean, you didn't even have, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but you didn't even have Logan Paul on the show, he's the current U.S. champion. You had kind of a mediocre Miz match versus Gunther. And by the way, I think Gunther really hurt his back, Bennett. If you watch that again, I think Miz really got hurt. That was a weird tap out.
Yeah.
That was a weird, quick tap out. And if you watch the replay of the way his back bent, I think he really hurt him with that. I do.
Yeah.
I don't say that a lot about this stuff, but I think that was a situation he really actually damaged Miz's back.
He's stiff, too. Gunther is so stiff. It felt, he had one kick, like one boot to the face that I was convinced was real. I was like, he just kicked him in the head. It's wild.
Hey, you get guys like that. I mean, sometimes I think they just set professionals that it's actually not a dangerous move. They're just so good at it, right? Yeah. And he might be one of those guys. I love his group. I think you're going to see Gunther versus Brock Lesnar probably at WrestleMania. Okay. I think that's probably, they're kind of setting that up. At least Gunther's trying to, sprinkle that out there on social media and in interviews that he does. It's a good move on his part.
I like that.
I think that's a match we probably should see. You do have to come back to Randy Orton because you're like, what are they going to do with him? Obviously, there's a Randy Orton World Championship elephant in the room that he can get, I think, become the most winningest world champion in history, has the most world titles. I think if he gets one more. So you got Rollins. Yeah, he can win the Rollins title. What are we even calling that? The heavyweight championship? I hate that championship. I really do, man. I hate that championship. I just hate what they've done with it. I almost feel bad for Rollins.
Yeah, it's almost like
it's like the Seth Rollins championship. Yeah, it's not the world championship, right?
It's like just part of his goofy costumes.
It's too bad. It really is too bad. But you don't have Roman on the show. And you're building up now. What do you do with Roman at Royal Rumble? Yeah. Where are you going there? You doing an LA Knight rematch? I don't think you do that. As good as LA Knight has been, as loud as that pup is. I mean, I feel bad. We talk about people we feel bad for. I feel bad for LA Knight because now he's buried. It's deep. WWE is deep. And the way they just do it is, I hate to be the guy that knocks AEW so much because I do think AEW is great for the industry, right? I really do. I think AEW's presence is great for the industry, being on a major television network, having big-time pay-per-views. They have big names. They have big-name talent. I just think it's the way... I just think AEW has way too much going on. They have too much going on. And all of that too much that's going on is all over the place. So it's just a whirlwind of chaos.
Yeah.
And on top of that, with so much going on, they don't even give you what everybody wants to see. We've talked about this before. They had a dream match with Daniel Bryan and some dude that I didn't even know. And the AEW fans on my YouTube and social media oh, fuck you. It's dude, you sound like such a loser. The AEW fan base too is just I just feel like they're the kid in kindergarten that doesn't have many friends because they don't want to share their toys.
That's what the whole...
It's what?
The whole league feels like. The whole federation feels like that. Whatever.
Federation, watch what you say. The AEW nuts, that's what they use to call old school WWE. And I learned that the hard way, arguing with people online. which is like the dumbest thing to do, argue with
But doesn't it
AEW
feel like
fans online.
slightly less professional?
It does because it's all over the place. You got too many shows now.
It's like too big. It's like a big indie. It's still an indie though.
It is.
It feels like that to me.
Well, it's because since day one, I think the rollout, they did it wrong. Because they rolled it out as if the wrestlers themselves were creating a company.
Yeah.
And I think their egos got in the way. I think they were like, yeah, we want to be the ones that are known to start this company. Everybody could still know you started the company without you being the public faces of the starting of the company. You know, they had the press conferences. They were the executive vice presidents. The inmates were running the asylum. And now that we know that, everything that we see happening, it does affect what you see. It affects what you see as a fan.
Yeah.
As you watch it. It does. It changes your mind on what you see and how you feel. And that has kind of never changed for the casual fan like myself.
Yeah.
Every time I watch it, it's chaotic. And in the back of your head, you're like, well, it's because the inmates are running the asylum. Like, that can't happen. And again, too many shows. Way too many storylines. I mean, the best storyline they have right now is what's going on with Roddy Strong and the Kingdom and Adam Cole and MJF. And I think there's going to be a big payoff there because I think Adam Cole is the one in the devil mask. And I think you're going to see, I don't know this, but I think the Kingdom, Adam Cole was once in the Kingdom. I think the Kingdom is going to be a major faction in AEW. At least it should be. And they'll be feuding with MJF for a while. And MJF will tease that he's going to leave. I think this is an interesting time for MJF, too.
Yeah.
Because he's great. And you would love to see him in the WWE. And it kind of brings us back to the difference between AEW and WWE. Like, when you see that last night at Survivor Series, and you're someone like MJF or Kenny Omega, or even the Young Bucks, like you sit there at night, like you really don't want to be a part of that before your career's over. Come on, guys.
Especially the Young Bucks. It almost feels like you've done everything but one thing.
I would love to see the Young Bucks in WWE. I'd love to see Kenny Omega in WWE.
Yeah.
Because what they could do for their characters and the whole thing, it would just be perfect. Those are the dream scenarios. And MJF too. But now I think if you're MJF,
yeah, it might be
I think you stay in AEW for a little bit.
Be the big guy in the small
He's young
pond,
enough,
right? Yeah.
MJF's young enough. What's he, mid-20s?
Something like that, yeah.
Wow, what a fucking career already, huh? That's crazy. Good for him. But now he's got time. Like, I mean,
make it your company.
You got 10 years
that's
if
what
you
he has
want.
to say. Yeah, exactly.
You got 10, maybe not 10. You never know what's going to happen. But, sign a 5-year deal. And then in 4 or 5 years, you make your jump to WWE. And who knows what WWE is at that point. It's probably even bigger and better with the TKO situation. Who knows? Vince McMahon might have bought AEW by then. Right? He's got to be getting itchy. He's selling some stocks, right?
That's real plan.
he's bringing some more money in on this sale. So who knows where it goes, but it's AEW has too much going on, and they don't give the casual fan what they want. They cater to this like smaller audience that, like you said, makes it feel like it's a glorified indie. And then, not that there's anything wrong with the indies, by the way.
I don't mean to say it like that, if that's what I can. But it just as a casual fan, I'm more of a casual than you. But they've almost had me like 4 or 5 times where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch some AEW.
Me too.
But then it just goes away.
It's almost like you can't explain it, right? I don't know if it's
they're like they never complete it. Like they never completely get you there. They're like we're like, even with Edge, I was even happy when Edge came back. I tuned in for that pay-per-view and then just nothing. And it's weird. It's a weird thing.
Well, they do this thing again where they bring Edge in. And Edge, you want to see him right away interrupt MJF.
Yeah.
You want to see him right away interrupt Kenny Omega.
I don't want to see him work with the kids.
Like, he goes to face Christian again, and then some, like, 17-year-old kid. Who is this kid? Like, what's happening right now? I'm like, what? And the dude with the dinosaur mask? Like, what are you doing to Edge? They've turned Edge into, like, this average Joe. Yeah, it's like, nah, dude. Like, nah, dude, what are you doing to him? It's crazy. And I know I come from a different place than the AEW fan does on this, But I feel like my place is the majority. It's the I'm in the money-making crowd for these companies, right? I'm the casual fan in the money-making crowd. And it's like Tony Khan doesn't want to cater to that. He does, but I don't know that he knows how. He tries to like cater to both sides and be cute with some stuff because, again, he's got the wrestlers who are a major part of the decision-making, I think. And it's just chaotic. Even like when I'm watching what's going on in the matches, it's just from a production aspect, it kind of feels like there's too much going on outside around the ring too. Like there's just not ever the one focus on what's happening in the ring. The only time they gave me that focus was when CM Punk and MJF were cutting their promos. That was it. And now Punk's gone. But like what WWE could do for someone like Kenny Omega is what AEW doesn't want to do for him.
Yeah.
What WWE did for Edge, AEW doesn't want to do. You could always do Edge Christian. That's there for you. But you should have come out of the gate with something bigger and better. The dream scenario. Like, here's what it could have been in WWE. We're doing it in AEW. Nobody watching WWE wanted to see Christian come through those doors and fight Edge. Nobody did. Edge was
because we've seen it.
Not only have we seen it, but WWE in Edge's multiple returns now, they've built him up to be on that world title scene with Roman Reigns, with the Daniel Bryans, right, at that WrestleMania. And then it's just like, you made him an average Joe in an average storyline that we've already seen. And, again, I know it sounds like I'm using this opportunity to knock AEW, and I am knocking AEW, but it's like, I think that there's an opportunity for AEW to keep my attention. And they have had my attention with this Adam Cole, MJF, Kingdom storyline, but that's pretty much it. They had it with CM Punk. Now CM Punk's in WWE.
And it feels like WWE just stole all the momentum that they built.
They burst AEW's bubble.
Yeah, and just took the energy.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's so awesome. And even though we expected it, it's surreal to see. It really is surreal to see him back, but he's got to fight. He's got to go after Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
He's got to go after the top title, whether he wins it or not.
Yeah, exactly.
He could lose. Who knows how that goes? You could do anything with that afterwards, but you don't know how much time you have with CM Punk.
No.
And you have to strike while the iron's hot. And maybe that's the theme with AEW. It seems to be something AEW doesn't do. WWE does, so I expect WWE to put CM Punk in that main event storyline, not with Seth Rollins, because with all due respect, that's not the main event title. The main event title is the one that Roman Reigns has. Yeah. I mean, if they don't go with Punk and Reigns, I honestly...
Almost what is the point in a weird way?
Are we just going to do the Cody Rhodes build-up for 5 months?
Yeah.
Even now, knowing that CM Punk is around, it makes me not want the Cody Roman Reigns.
I know.
The Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns storyline. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if there's something missing with this, but
it's a whole new world. That's how quickly it can change.
CM Punk is back. But you watch that too, and it just makes you wonder, like, if you're Tony Khan, like, what are you thinking watching that last night?
You're not.
What are you thinking watching that last night?
I expected some rage tweets because he was doing that.
Did he tweet?
No, he didn't. Or he might have tweeted, but he didn't go off on a tangent like he usually does. Because for a little while, he was kind of like self-destructing over NXT's success for a couple weeks there. NXT would pop off, and then he would kind of just lose his mind like a little kid for a couple days. That's kind of when I've kind of pushed away from AEW too, just from him looking like a fool. Like, it's like he's like a rich kid who wants friends. It's like a part of it that always feels like that.
No, he's got them.
Yeah. He's
got the money, and now I guess he's got the friends. And look, AEW, I think they're still probably making money. I think they, I also wonder what someone like Chris Jericho thinks when he watches this, because you start to think about like returns and which ones are the best, and can it ever get better than this return?
Jericho had one of the best ones.
He did?
Back in the day, yeah.
Where would you rank this last night? Because I would say you have to take into account everything that we've talked about.
And try not to be like a prisoner of the moment, too, because we are going to get a lot of entertainment because of him coming back. I don't think it's number one. Because it just, I don't know. I don't think it was number one. The Jericho one, do you remember that back in the day when he jumped to WWE?
The Y2J, the countdown.
That was pretty great. That was a great one. So
yeah, I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, even like NWO coming to WWE wasn't like that.
This is up there, right? It's definitely up there.
You obviously CM Punk's AEW return was probably louder than the one last night. That was because AEW did that right. We're going to knock AEW for things they do wrong. They did the CM Punk return right when they were in Chicago. I think they kind of told you, teased it was going to happen. They opened the show and they had nothing for like, I want to say a good 90 seconds that felt like 10 minutes with everybody chanting CM Punk, not having seen him for years. And then the music hits, the logo shows. That is a video that you can watch that will give you chills every single time you watch it.
That was probably a better debut than this one was.
That was a louder pop from the crowd. But that's because, again, people were there like expecting it. They let the build-up happen, which, again, was perfect. This one was handled differently. I did think, here's what I thought coming into this event. I thought that there was a possibility that they open up Survivor Series and did the same exact thing. Would that have looked like they were copying? Yeah. But so what?
It would have been amazing.
Like, it would have been unbelievable.
Just rubbing their face in it, too.
Right? Just the same thing. But because they didn't do that and they decided to go a different way, again, they played it perfect because they set you up with such disappointment where even someone like myself, who was ready for it all day yesterday, I'm like, CM Punk's coming back tonight. It's just unbelievable. And then they even teased it in the show, like, Randy's not going to be here. And you're like, I'm texting people like, oh, here we go. Punk's going to be the guy. And it was Randy Orton. And not that I don't like Randy Orton, but I was disappointed that it was not CM Punk. And the show ends, and that's it. And your brain starts to think of something else, like it's over. All right. I had something else going on. I sat up, and then it hits, and you're just in shock. And I think everybody in the building last night, probably felt the same exact way, to the point where there was so much shock and almost like, are they fucking with us? It was like, are they fucking with us right now?
Are they really doing
And
this?
so the pop wasn't as loud as it was with the AEW one. But because of all those emotions and everything, I was starting to think, like, will there ever be a return that's bigger than that in WWE? Will there ever be a debut or a return that's crazier than what we saw last night at Survivor Series? Jericho would...
But no, not anymore.
But it wouldn't be like that.
No.
It would be big. It wouldn't be like that. I'm thinking maybe if Kenny Omega comes into the Rumble...
Yeah, you know what?
That
you're
is...
right. You're probably right.
I think that's
probably... The last one. That's probably the...
I think Omega in the Rumble is probably a moment that catches people like that. Omega and the Bucks together.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if that would be something pretty cool.
Cody's was big when he
came
back.
I meant to mention that.
Yeah.
Cody's at WrestleMania last year. Up until this point, I would tell you that's the loudest I've ever heard.
Yeah, that was pretty wild.
An arena. Yeah. Because that was a wild situation, given the, again, WWE is benefiting off all the AEW shit.
All the AEW work that they do.
I guess credit to AEW for helping. Like, they are great for the industry. Maybe not for the reasons they want to be. But it's true, right? Like, because of the Cody AEW thing, you had that shock.
And that's another time where WWE just stole the energy.
And they teased it, and they teased it, and there were Easter eggs. And it's like, okay, is this going to be Cody? And then you kept his logo. You kept everything. That was a shocking one. Yeah. We probably should have talked more about that with regards to returns. But you look at that, and you look at Punk last night. I think the only one, like, we know what we're getting with The Rock returns. We know what we're getting with Stone Cold returns. Like, who is there? Like, The Undertaker, we know. Lesnar, we know. We got the Randy Orton one last night. Like, we know.
Yep.
Who are the guys that could possibly come back and give you that type of moment last night? Like, we're running out of people. I can tell you 3 guys right now. I just told you.
That's it, though.
I think, right? I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Is there any, again, the Jericho one will be okay. He would probably hate to hear me say that because I'm sure he probably sitting there. You know, Jericho's watching this last night. He is thinking about his return. His return. Jericho knows how he wants to do it. Here's when it's going to happen. I'm willing to bet that Jericho sent a couple texts out to some people at WWE last night. I'm willing to bet that he did. I don't know I don't have any inside info on that. But why wouldn't you? I'm sure he wants that moment. I just don't think it would be like that. The only people that would probably get a pop that is like that amazing, shocking pop in WWE is Omega and the Bucks.
Yeah.
I don't know who else. Who else would get that? I know there's guys that AEW fans might think. Like Edge isn't going to get that again if he comes back. And he will come back, but he won't get that.
No,
he already got that.
It's only extremely special individuals that people, because it is a little bit.
Cena, we already know. Like, that's going to be a huge pop, but
Yeah. But you expect it.
Maybe Roman, when he's done, and in 5 years he returns, but I still don't
think. I mean, it didn't work for Batista. Poor Batista.
No. Give me what I want. I don't think there's anyone else. You know what?
Yeah, Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. That's
Daniel Bryan.
And there's probably someone where
Moxley. I don't know. I don't know if Moxley gets that.
Not that level, but
nah, he's not. I don't think he's that level.
What about a Shield reunion?
No, I don't think so.
I think maybe that.
You think so?
Maybe.
The Shield never did it for me.
Really?
Yeah, it never did it for me. I was never a Shield guy.
I was in early on.
But that's all right. Daniel Bryan, Omega and the Bucks, Jericho. But I think the loudest is Omega and the Bucks.
Yeah.
That's probably as loud as it's going to get. Anybody, MJF. But that's not a return.
Yeah.
And Omega and the Bucks isn't a return either, but even though they had wrestled and they had been a part of WWE way back when.
Yeah.
As like nobodies, right?
When Vince hated them because they were too small.
Yeah. And now they're superstars.
Yeah.
No, it is interesting to think about, though, because you see that reaction last night and you start to think, like, who else could get something like this?
Well, but no one has, like, what he has, because he's almost like a dangerous man in a weird way. Like, in a weird, not even for, like, attacking people backstage, but just, like...
For your company.
This might not work at all. Like, he might be the pipe bomb.
Like, everybody might hate him.
Yeah, like, it might. He might just shoot his way out of town in 2 weeks. It's a possibility. I don't think it's going to happen, but...
Yeah, you start to think, like, all right, yeah, lessons have been learned, and Triple H talks about 10 years, everybody changes, but we're gonna find out.
Sometimes people don't change.
Yeah, we're gonna find out. Maybe they actually do hate each other, Triple H and CM Punk.
And sometimes you think you changed, and you actually didn't make as much. You didn't change that much.
Because you know what was weird? Triple H did the press conference.
Yeah.
But he didn't mention Punk in his opening statement, and I'm like, is he not gonna mention? And he's like, I know you got questions about the other one, so I'll take those questions. And he answered the questions, but I mean, you would have thought he'd open with that.
Yeah.
And he didn't even mention it in his opening statement. So you do wonder, like, and one of the questions was good. It's like, how much did TKO factor in? And Triple H is like, oh, TKO had nothing to do with it. I'm sure they were like, holy shit. I highly doubt that was an honest answer. Completely honest. They have something to do with it.
Why wouldn't they have something to do with it? They have something to do with every single thing that's going on right now.
They now have something to do with it, right? So, I love it, but I think we know what we need to see now. You feel the same way as me. It's got to be Punk Reigns, maybe not right away, but you got to build up to that at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
because I don't see another opportunity. Like, you want to wait till you want to let Reigns keep the title and wait till SummerSlam. What, you're gonna have Reigns beat Cody again? If Cody's facing Reigns at WrestleMania, Cody's going to win it. You would think, right?
Poor guy.
But it's got to be Punk. I think beating Roman. I think you would be crazy, especially now. Again, I told you at first, don't talk about Heyman. Now you got Heyman involved. It's like CM Punk was a Paul Heyman guy. So there's another element to that. The bloodline. The bloodline's going to unite before, unless they do Jimmy versus Jay.
Yeah.
Which I think the Jey Uso stuff, being a babyface, is already getting a little stale, in my opinion. Right?
They're better as heels. Together, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything could be changing now that Punk is signed on and
it should be
involved.
It really should be. You almost don't want to plan your whole year around the guy, but you got to plan till WrestleMania around that guy. So
All right. Well, that's our CM Punk emergency press conference. Did we give the fans what they wanted? I mean,
or did we just AEW it?
No, The one thing I do like about what AEW is doing right now is you can feel. I told you I like the whole angle with the Kingdom and Adam Cole, because there's going to be a big payoff when Cole's the devil. I think that's I don't know that for sure, but I think that has to be who that is. Especially now that we know it's not CM Punk, though. I mean, imagine. We are going to find out one day, I think, though.
It's all one company.
This is my ultimate conspiracy theory that, like, Vince McMahon or the McMahon family has something to do with AEW. Some things happen that are almost too good for WWE, right? Like another thing happening that's almost too good for WWE, where I'm like, what's really going on there? What's really happening here, right? But outside of the whole Adam Cole Kingdom MJF, it seems like the Young Bucks are going to go heel. I don't know if there's I don't know what's happening with them, but like an old school Bullet Club situation, maybe. That's when they were the best.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good thing. And I hope that, because people are starting to hate the Bucks, and I hope they play into that. I hope they lean into that, because that's when I think they're at their best. I'm a big fan of the Bucks, so I hope they have success. But right now, the most successful guy in the industry is CM Punk. He is back, and it was one hell of a night. So we'll keep an eye on it. We will react accordingly. And, 2 shows in a week here. Is this our thing? Sundays? I don't know. Sunday mornings. Is this our showtime? We're missing... we're going to miss some football stuff. This is going to come out as the games are playing in week 12, so we can't really record this on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And have, consistently during the football season. That would be a bad look. Can't react to football and then have it be stale almost immediately. But we had to do this one. I had to come in. We had a feeling CM Punk was going to come back. He did. And now the WWE is in a great spot because of it. Paul, thanks a lot. Great stuff.
Thank you.
Subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Follow me on Instagram. And I'm out. Talk to you soon.